Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Modern Church Leader. I'm joined for the second time by the ladies who started Delight Ministries. Hey guys.
Hello. So fun being back. I love
I
it.
know. And like, man, so much has changed for you guys. You can tell the audience if you want to, but we don't have to. But it's been a big, I don't know, you were on 6 months ago or something like that, and the whole world has changed.
Yes, since 6 months. I've had a child, so that's pretty fun. She is now 7 weeks old, which is
7 weeks.
crazy. A
Oh
little
man.
itty bitty thing. My husband's currently trying to make sure she's cool and calm and collected. So
like half your brain is paying attention over there, and
yeah,
some
of
of it's
course.
over here.
Right
Yeah.
when we were like, let's click record, she was like, meh, meh. So we'll pray for him out there.
Yeah.
And then Mac's pregnant. I love how I'm making this announcement for you.
You usually talk for me anyway, so this is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenz, is yours sleeping through the night yet, or is still up often?
We have one wake up time.
Okay.
3 or 4 a.m. And yeah,
pretty
she's
good.
about to make we're doing the whole sleep training thing. And
Yep.
so she's about to make the jump to a longer stretch, I guess, which will
Yeah.
be good. So
Yeah. We were big fans of the sleep training, so I'm I'm team sleep training all the way.
Yeah, you got to get your sleep, get a good shower. I don't know. The girls that go without it, I'm like, that's awesome. But not.
Mac, how far along are you? How much longer?
I am 17 weeks, so we're coming up on the halfway point here. But yeah, so I still got a long way to go. Long way to go growing a child inside of me.
But I mean, the story continues. Now you guys are going to have babies together and they're going to grow up. I mean, how cool.
I know.
Lifelong.
It is pretty fun. Yes.
Yeah.
So Ken's had a girl. I'm having a girl. So we're just going to keep living in our girl world where we just thrive, honestly.
Yeah.
So our poor husbands.
No, they love it. They love it, I'm sure.
Yes.
I have 3 boys, so my wife is I was telling you guys before, she just doesn't understand us, but she's got to deal with 3 kids and the big kid. So
That's awesome.
That's so crazy. She'll be so obsessed with when they start having girlfriends and get married.
100%.
Yes.
That stage is going to be pretty cool for sure.
Yeah.
So fun.
Well, last time you guys were on, you guys have a great story. The ministry you guys started, it's amazing. But I noticed you guys do a great job with branding and marketing and kind of just your style. It's clearly an extension of you guys. But I don't know. I love talking about branding and marketing in the church space, and you guys seem to be into that as well. So we're just going to talk marketing today.
Excited. Can't
wait.
Yeah.
So let's just maybe start at the beginning. How did you guys come up with the name? What in the very beginning when you guys were dreaming up the ministry and getting things started, where'd the name come from?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So the funny story about the name Delight, I guess where it came from was originally we were just starting a Bible study and we knew it needed an epic, awesome name. I remember having conversations Ken's and I early days of what are we going to call this thing? And we tried all these different names, but nothing ever stuck. And then our first Bible study that we ever picked to go through as a group before we made our own curriculum was called Duty or Delight. And I was walking on campus one day and I ran into Ken's and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my goodness, I've invited so many people to Delight." And I was literally like, "What is Delight?" And she's like, "Oh, that's just what I've been calling it." And I was like, "Oh, I actually really like it. I think that's good." And so that's kind of where the name came from. It was just a very organic thing, or it was a genius move from Ken's. Not sure which one. Maybe a move of the spirit, or just she's a marketing genius.
No, that brings up a good point though, that I feel like it is in the ministry space, I feel like you have to still put strategy into things and be mindful of who you're serving and what they're liking, catching the trends and going with it. But then also, of course, sticking true to your brand and where you feel God leading you. You're not going to take that too far because of the spirit and maybe boundaries and things like that. But yeah, no, that in its moment was definitely organic.
Yeah. Well, and it clearly stuck. Like it worked. You guys liked it. And I love the one, just like one word kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Did you,
Yeah.
after it stuck, did it just from there, it was just, that was it? Or was there like moments of like, oh, we need to think about our real
Yeah.
name, or did that just stick and you guys went with it?
It really did just stick, which is so funny. I remember like we picked our theme verse back in the day. We had like a theme verse of Psalm 37:4, delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. And it kind of became this
Yeah.
message of like, not this, hey, he's this genie in a bottle who's going to grant your every wish if you just start to follow him. But hey, when you really learn what it means to delight in him, he transforms the desires of your hearts into the things that he desires for you. And it just felt like that was kind of the journey we were taking college women on of what does it really look like to enjoy a relationship with Jesus, not just do it because your parents, had you go to church
Right.
every Sunday, or not just follow like the cultural view of what it means to be a Christian, but what does it really look like to learn to delight in him in your everyday? And then what happens on the aftermath of that is this transformative life where, I know for both Kenz and I, the things we came to college thinking we wanted out of this life totally changed. And it was really through this community and through our experience with what God did in our hearts. So it kind of became like the longer we stayed with the name Delight, the more meaning it seemed to have. And I think Delight, our brand, carries a lot of joy and a lot of fun and lightheartedness, also paired with a lot of depth. And so I think the word delight has really served us well in terms of branding and marketing as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that scripture's beautiful, right? Like it's inspiring to pretty much everybody that, reads it. So it's a great, like the name, the scripture, like it all just works. How did you come up? Like, okay, you got the name, it was becoming a thing early on, but then you had to work on like kind of the brand of it. Like, so how did you evolve? Like you go to your website, you guys have a great website, you have a clear brand, like it's a very clear, defined like style and branding. Like how did that start? Like where did you go to figure out like, okay, we like these colors, we like this style, all of that? Like how did that come to be?
Okay, well, first of all, there's one color and one color only, and it is
clearly
it is pink. And it's so funny is from the very beginning, it just really was like super pink. And I think that was probably a little marketing strategy, like, because it's funny, even if you go to like the campus fairs and you're looking and seeing other like campus ministries that are happening, they all typically have like a white cloth and a navy blue sign that says like what they are, whatever. Right. And then there's Delight, that's like always bright pink cloth. Or at one point, actually, we like really encourage people. This is LOL. We would be like, okay, this is what you should do. You should go to Goodwill and purchase a white bed sheet and tie-dye it pink. That's like, that is so cute. And so then everybody, what's unique in Delight is actually when one chapter does something. So say like at Belmont, we were like, we're going to do that. And then we posted it on our Instagram. And then we actually have like a leaders resources page. It's like behind the scenes that all of our leaders are also accessing and following and things like that. So they'll see on there, oh, okay, one thing you could do for your kickoff or for campus fair is to like dye your sheet pink. Like this all sounds really funny, but it actually like, then everybody did it. And then Delight was like the only ministry amongst probably 200 other tables there that had a tie-dyed sheet, and it looked cool and it was attractive, and people just went up to it. Like people just naturally go, so I think little things like that have really stuck. And every year there's like kind of a new trend. Like I remember the pink sheet at the beginning, or the tie-dye sheet. And then I don't know, it's gone. At one point there's a Mexican blanket trend, we were like, all right, we'll jump on that. Everybody had Mexican blanket, pink ones. Don't, not multicolored.
That would be off brand, not allowed.
No. So yeah, it's really stuck. And I don't know, Mac, you could probably speak to this, but I
Yeah.
know the team like over the years is like kind of almost wanted to like stray away from that. They're like, like some girls don't love pink. Or like,
Mhm.
what if that like excludes people? And I feel like Mac, you've always been really good at like sticking true to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from the early days, we decided on pink. We were creating the first women's campus ministry. There were no other women's campus ministries. And so from the beginning, we wanted it to be clear what it was. And so I
Mhm.
think I think that's why we
Yeah.
leaned towards pink. It was like, we want it to stand out and be different and have a lot of clarity for what it is. And so pink just automatically did that for us. And I'm telling you, you can go to any of these campus fairs, and I can promise you that Delight's table will probably have the longest line just because it looks the most fun. You don't even have to know
Right.
what it is, but you just can't pass a pink table and not like go check out what it is. So,
Right. Yeah.
and then yeah, as like times have changed and evolved, definitely there have been a lot of conversations with our team who have been like, hey, I think people are over the pink, and should we change it? And I have kind of really always held strong on what I love about the pink is it's so recognizable. It's impossible to ignore that it is Delight. And so we have definitely tried to move with the times of like
Right.
pink. We don't just stick with one pink. We go kind of every shade of pink depending on where design trends are. We've done more lighter pink, we've done neon pink, we've done rosy mid-tone pinks. We've kind of gone every direction, but I will never allow a Delight book to go out without pink on it. It has to have it. And I think that's just really important so that no matter what it is, you're always recognizing and seeing, okay, this is that Delight thing. If I'm
Right.
scrolling on my Instagram, oh, okay, that's this Delight thing. And when we do that as kind of the headquarters, our chapters have kept that going. And I think that's kind of what set us apart on college campuses.
Right.
And made for some real clarity of what we do and who we are. So
Yeah. And I love it. Because you have a great name, you got your color, and it's like we're all in. And you
Yeah.
do that for long enough. And you leaned into like pink, like just traditionally maybe like pink is the girls like pink and blue for boy girl. You just kind of leaned into, and you're like, no, this is a women's ministry, and we're starting the first one, and it's done amazing. And it's super recognizable. So like all those things are like true now, however many years later, 10 years later, 12 years later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you guys have done that. What about like the style, like the style of things, like the fonts and the kind of treatments, like you said, fun, and everyone's going to show up to the table and you're tie-dyed.
Yep.
Like, how did you land on like that side of things? Not just the color and the name, but now the style of everything.
Yeah. Well, I will say from the early days, one of the very first things we did when we said, hey, we're going to do this Delight thing was we invested. We spent some money in the very beginning on a strong brand. So we like found the coolest designer we knew in Nashville.
Okay.
And
Nice.
somehow convinced her, because she like only worked with really cool people at that point, and somehow we convinced her to work with us. I don't know. And I mean, it wasn't cheap, like, but we decided from day one, this is really important. And so she gave us a really great foundation for our brand with like our logo and things like that. I will say it has evolved and things, but kind of this like swirly letters, again, very feminine, very girly.
Yep.
And then because it's been about 11, 12 years since then, as we've kind of progressed, I think for everything that we're doing, we want it to have that feminine energy. And feminine energy has changed over the years. Like what used to be the more like, a floral pattern on a Bible, like that was like big 8 or 9 years ago, is not the same these days. Like or at least for the younger girls, I would say.
Right.
Now it's neons are really big right now, and kind of more of like a sans serif font. I see a lot of sans serif fonts and things like that. And so I really work with our designer now on how do we keep the trueness of our brand while also being really relevant for what's new, because we come out with a new book every semester. So our some of our products aren't evergreen. They don't have to last forever. They can last for 6 months and be really in and be really cool and be really trendy. And then we can be done with that look and kind of move on to another look. And so that's really a lot of what we do is we try to hold true to the things that have always worked for us, while also kind of following what's cool, what's relevant right now, doing some of that paired with what has always like rung true for Delight. And it seems to work because it makes it really fun. Every time we launch a new sweatshirt, a new book, it's like, oh, this is fun and new and exciting. Yet it pairs perfectly with the rest of my Delight collection that I've gathered over the years. So
yeah. Like there's brand consistency around everything. But then you try to use whatever's kind of trendy at the time or what's in right now and kind of bring it together. It's interesting that you decided, interesting. And I think pretty awesome that you decided to spend money on kind of brand up front. I think that's a spot that lots of people don't choose to invest in at the beginning, and maybe never, but it's not something they put importance on. Why'd you guys think that? Like, what was in you that made you go like, no, the brand of this thing is really important. Let's figure it out early.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long. Well, first of all, it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Mac? I feel like
I think that just with knowing our demographic, we were always going after college students.
Right.
So I believed, especially with like younger generations, the aesthetics of things really matter. I mean, this was when like Instagram was popping off, like Instagram was becoming the thing, and you had to have like a aesthetic feed and everything like that. And so we knew, okay, in order for college women to be drawn to this, it needs to look like something that they would want to check out, and they'd want to go to the website, or they'd want to click on our Instagram and go see what it's about. And we always talk about, I don't care what gets them in the door. Like whatever gets them in the door is great. It's really what happens once they're in the door where the true ministry happens. And so we try to we talk a lot in Delight, in every layer of Delight, about being invitational. And what I love about like the difference in a flyer and an invitation is that next step where there's always an RSVP, meaning you care about whether someone comes or not. It's not just this mass, hey, come to this event. It's like, no, this is a personalized thing where we care about whether you come or not. And so we try to be invitational in every single thing that we do. And one way I think we do that in our marketing is just, we want to meet women where they're at, not like hold true to what's always worked for us and just like say, oh, but once you come, it's going to be awesome. Like we want to go out there and find ways to draw them in, to attract them. And so I think just from being college women at the time, because we were in college when we started Delight, we just knew like, oh, if this isn't look cool, then I wouldn't go. We had a lot of conversations like that. Like I wouldn't go to this, yet if I clicked on this and was like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cute. What is this? Let me learn more about this. Like I would be interested. Those were important things to us at the time. And it sounds so funny and almost superficial, but I think that it's been important. And honestly, I'll just say it's worked for us.
I also add, since then we haven't had like a quote unquote professional designer come in and do anything for Delight. Really what it's been is really Mac oversees it. And then now we have a girl that like hands-on does everything. And I feel like it's a combo. The brand stays cute and trendy and consistent because, one, that person who runs the brand of Delight has she's gifted in that. She just like kind of knows what's cool, and she's cool, and she's going to like stay with the times or whatever. Same with Mac. She like is cool, has taste, is in with the times. It's really funny because genuinely I like pick out the worst stuff to this day. Like I just like don't have that in me. So like, there's that aspect. But then too, I think you just have to just like keep up. It kind of like does suck in a way because you have to like, it's like, Mac always tells me, you got to just scroll on TikTok for a little bit every day if you want to know what's trending.
What's
going
on,
if you want to know the audio. All the things. So, it's a combo of like just staying with the trend and being aware. We're in our 30s now, but we know what's aware for the 18 to 22-year-olds because we just like look and we join in and we're part of it. So I think it's like a healthy combo of both of those things.
Yeah. And I love what you said that like, it's not just about being cool, but it's like the invitation. Like it's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, you want to stay relevant because you're trying to reach people and you want to
Yeah.
you want them, like the invite, you want it to be something that they think is going to be fun and exciting, and that it's it drives kind of an interest so that they'll show up, and then they
Yeah.
can, really experience the ministry and what God's doing there and the community and all of that kind of stuff. So like the marketing and the brand is important
Yeah.
to get people there, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then kind of the ministry side of things takes over, and that's really what's important. But if you didn't do a
Yeah.
good job in the marketing and the branding and the invite kind of culture, then nobody would be there to experience, what God's doing. So it's like they
Yeah.
go
No,
together, you know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? It's like that I wish more churches and ministries kind of understood that, like
Mm.
how you're seen in the world like matters, because that's what brings people to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
Yeah.
powerful
for
point.
real. Mac, you need to share about your about what's her name, the girl that's like popping off on TikTok
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. What you shared. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like such a good truth and nugget that the world needs to hear.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I recently did a presentation at like a publisher who's trying to reach younger people,
Okay.
and they were kind of talking about how do we create Bible studies. So this is a little bit different, but how do we create Bible studies for this younger generation?
Yeah.
And I think that there is something to the fact that there are other brands out there that are young people are flocking to, they're flocking to, and it's really important to pay attention. Why are they flocking to these brands, whether they're inside the church or outside the church? Like
Yep.
what's going on here? And the one that I find so interesting right now is there's this girl on TikTok, her name's Alex Earl. It's so funny, but she is this like, she goes to the University of Miami. She just graduated from there. She's blonde, like classic. She's not walking with Jesus. But young girls our age are obsessed with her. Like they follow everything she does. Like she puts videos on TikTok all the time that are just like sharing about her getting ready, like what she's doing that night, a date with her boyfriend from the night before, different things like that.
Right.
And what I love is she just started a podcast, and on her podcast, she's like talking about all of these different things that are like, hey, what to do if you're dealing with anxiety, what to do if all your friends don't want to hang out with you anymore. What do you do when you're feeling lonely? All of these different things that like we know Jesus has the answer for. Like Jesus speaks to these things, and I think what's so funny and so interesting is like everybody is going to Alex Earl
Right.
for the answers.
Right.
We're going to her for the answers. And I think one of the things that she does really beautifully is that I think is why people are drawn to her is she's super transparent and she's super authentic to being herself. And I think that with branding and marketing, especially in the church, one thing that I think we're not good at that I'm really passionate about is looking for opportunities to be more authentic and to be more relatable and real. And I think that's one thing that we have a sister brand to Delight called For the Girl, where we Kenz and I are more of like the faces of that one, which sounds funny, but we work really hard to be ourselves, to not be the perfect Christian girl, but to be ourselves and to be goofy and to have fun and to share stuff that like sometimes we are like even like, oh, should I share this? But people are so drawn to authenticity and relatability. And this Alex Earl girl is getting like 10 million downloads on her podcast every single episode. And I just believe like the places that like we refuse to occupy, like the enemy is occupying those places.
Right.
And so I think it's so important for the church to get in there and to say like, hey, we're going to talk about these things too. And we're going to be invitational in how we invite you in. And we were talking a little bit more about content, maybe the marketing, but I think the same can be true even in our marketing and how we're inviting people into that story is just doing in a way that meets them where they're at,
Right.
number one. And then also not putting on this like perfect facade, but putting on this, hey, you can come and be yourself here and you can come and be known here. And then watch what Jesus does in the process of transformation. It's the delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Hey, but that's where the transformation happens. And so, yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
What, I guess jumping into social media, what's been your guys's, like you said, kind of Instagram was, you know, kind of starting to jump off, and like that was a big part of what you guys were thinking about. How has social media played a role just in your overall marketing over the years?
Oh yeah, big time over the years. It's been, like she said, it like social media like started when we started Delight. So I feel like since the beginning, we've tried to like ride that wave and
Yeah,
stay relevant and use it to like our advantage, get it in front of as many people as possible. And so, sometimes it's like the big things like, hey, what kind of post, what kind of caption is going to be reshared, things like
Yeah.
that. Like how many people can see this? What reel can we create that other people like the Alex copy something Alex Earl is doing, but do it in a Christian lens.
right.
Like do the same thing, just do it different. And do it over and over again. And yeah, so it's a lot of that mass outreach, things like that. But then at the same time, I feel like we've been really, I mean, if it comes to like a smaller level, I feel like we have done a really good job of like, outreach through Instagram. Like our chapters individually, like we tell them like, hey, like reach out to, people are young people are responding to their Instagram DMs more than they are their text message. So like DM them and reach out to them. It's easy to follow and to access those people. So, go to the Lipscomb softball Instagram and start messaging all of those people. So I feel like from a big level, it's like, okay, reshareable content, trending content, things like that. But then it's also like, we don't miss the like personal stuff as well.
Right.
We've always made that a big priority too.
Yeah.
But once again, Mac is better at social media than me, so she could speak up to this as well. Why am I talking about social media? LOL.
I love it.
You're just the tee up, you're just getting it ready.
What is happening? Yeah.
No, I think one thing Ken's really is on me about, which I think is so important, is she's really good at consistency. Where I'm like, I think because I have to be on social media a lot, I can get like all in, and then I'm like, I'm tired and burnt out on it. But I think it's really important to be consistent in how you show up on these platforms. And so I can say consistency is so important. You might not think it matters, but the more frequently you're showing up, the better. This is so interesting, but like one thing is this is hilarious. I use this a lot, but I lead Young Life now in a high school nearby me. And I learn a lot because so much of what Delight is such on like a macro level. And now what I'm doing on a high school level is very micro. And it's very like, I'm actually talking to these kids that I'm trying to get to come to things.
Right.
And one thing that I've noticed with our social media, with even our Young Life, is like we can post a post about like, hey, come to this event, and it gets tiny bit of engagement. Yet if I post 10 pictures with all their faces in it and say, come to this event, it is shared on every single one of their stories, and they are interacting with it and they're engaging with it. And so I think it's really important to pay attention to what do people engage with, and
Right.
whatever people engage with, just do all of that. Forget the like traditional things that maybe even social media experts are telling you. Like what do people engage with on your church's Instagram, and then keep doing that. Like don't try to be the other church and what's working for them, the mega church or whatever. Like what's working for your specific profile, and then do a ton of that. Like Ken's and I just pay attention to that. It's like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time on these certain type of things if nobody cares about them. Like I'm going to put my energy and effort into things that people want to engage with and people are excited about. One of the things for Ken's and I is like, people love when we just get on our stories and take people along for our day.
Right.
And people engage and they respond and they message us and they love it. One thing on Delight that I talk to our Delight team a lot about is like clarity. I think this is so important. Like people need to know from our Instagram what Delight is.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about that. Like you have to think about what is the story that we're telling through social media? Like, cause it's got to be on the micro level of one post, and it has to be on the macro level of your entire profile or your TikTok. And so I always like want to invite people into a story that like where they can be transformed. So I talk a lot about and this is hilarious. My husband works for Story Brand too, so it
Okay.
infiltrates my mind. But problem solution a lot of like, hey, what is the problem that this person is facing, and how is Delight the solution for them?
Right.
And how are we communicating that through every web page on our website, through every post on our socials, through every TikTok we post, that like, hey, come and like, we want to walk with you. Like, this community can be a part of the solution that like is the problem that like your heart is breaking for, or whatever it is. And so that's a random spiel, but I think consistency is so important. I think doing what works. And then I would say clarity is really important too.
Have you guys spent time like producing social media content? You know, like thinking about like, oh, we want to do this kind of reel, or this kind of like these kind of stories. Like, has that been part of your strategy, or has it all been kind of just like more on the fly, taking pictures, jumping on live, like that kind of stuff? Like what has worked for you guys, and how have you thought about those kind of things?
I'll say for us real quick, Kenz, and you jump on, what is staged and like we spend a ton of money on, and we spend a ton of, it's like production perfect value, high production value, flops every time. It is Kenz and I with our iPhone taking a picture. It thrives, you know, where we're like engaged, we're putting an engaging caption. It's Kenz and I being goofy. It's whatever. And you can still have good aesthetics with being genuine, but it's just so much more relatable and more genuine when I think sometimes people think I got to go get a higher production company to record this reel to launch my new sermon series or whatever. When I think sometimes just the pastor, I don't even know, being goofy with the face to camera can work just as well. And I think that's where you can be more genuine and authentic. And Kenz and I, again, we pay attention to what works for us. And we do a lot of that. So like, we don't even live in the same city anymore. So when we get together in the same city, you know, we have our phones out all day and it's kind of horrible, but we just crank out as much fun, goofy, serious content as we can. And we throw it in a Google Drive or like our shared folder. Yeah. And that's what we're going to post for the next month. And it kind of works for us. Yeah. So sorry, Kenz.
It is simple for us though. I feel like a lot of people do overthink it and then they don't do anything with social media. And for us, I mean, on just like a micro level, like we have a meeting every Monday, and on that Monday meeting, we plan out our socials for the week, including like everything, every social stuff. And it takes us literally 5 minutes probably to talk through it. And then we have our responsibilities and we just do it from there. And and then as far as like writing stuff or like heavier lifting things, like, you know, long captions or stuff that we have to like really come up with. I will say we do a lot of repurposing there. Like we have a bunch of Bible studies that we've written over the years. Some like over the last 10 years, we have like content. And so we repurpose a lot of it. Like we have a book that's called For When I'm in My Feels, and it's like short format little devotionals. So we post that on Instagram all the time. Like we use that content from the book and just put it into captions and stuff. And so things like that are like really important. And then the other thing too, if something like pops off, if something does well, we'll just do it again 6 months later. Like you can do the same thing again. Nobody's going to know. If they do know, they might like think it in their head, but they're not going to like start trolling. They're not going to comment, I saw this 6 months ago. Maybe, or something like that. Nobody cares. Like, anyways, things like it's going to reach more and more people, and it's all to reach. Yeah. It's all to reach people. We already know that. Yeah. So keep it simple, repurpose, plan it quickly. I think it's really important.
Right. And be consistent, like you said. We could keep talking for, forever. What would you say, I guess, kind of to wrap it up, like like people who aren't good at marketing, right? Like you're kind of just your normal folks doing ministry or doing church or whatever it might be. They're not good at marketing. Like, what are some of the key things that you guys think like, okay, like dig in on this, like spend time over here. This is going to have like the most bang for your buck, or this is where you can make the biggest difference with your marketing efforts?
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Mac.
I was going to say, I really think, and we alluded to this earlier, talked about this earlier, but find someone early on who does know marketing, and not even someone who knows branding to help you establish a strong
Yeah.
brand. And once you have the tools, because they're going to give you the tools, then you just run with that and you keep showing up with that and you be yourself in that. Like, I think sometimes there can be a lot of like looking to what other people are doing and thinking, okay, if we want to have a good, strong church brand or whatever it is, like we need to look like Elevation or we need to look like
Right.
whatever, X, Y, and Z. And I think once you have a strong established brand, then you get to make that your own and you
Right.
get to have fun with that and you get to be genuine and authentic within that. And so I think it's just really important to start out with what you need, which is finding someone who knows more than you
Yeah.
and having them help you in the beginning, but then knowing that like you don't need their help for forever. You don't need that high production value for forever. You can really kind of take those basics, have someone create you some Canva templates, and then you
Yeah.
can run with that for a really long time and always like intersperse that really authentic content to you and really authentic. I think that people really connect to personalities these days. And so it's really important to like involve that in whatever you're doing marketing wise. And I guess not every brand has that same opportunity to do that. But even still, like, can your brand have a personality? Because I feel like Delight has a personality. And it's great because then people are drawn towards that personality and they see themselves in it and they want to be a part of that. And so I think that for me, that's what I would say is like find an expert to help you get started with the basics and that foundation and then just build off of it. And don't be afraid to mess it up because you can't mess it up. Like you really can't. Like just get in there and have fun with it. And I think for Kenz and I, we just always said this has to be fun. If it's not fun, then let's not do it.
Right.
And like, and I know this is some people's job, so maybe your boss would disagree, but I think that
But that's
like,
part of your brand. Like your brand,
yeah,
fun was part of you guys in the brand, right? It's like who you
yep,
were.
yep,
So you're like, it's got to be that. That's what
it's
this
got
is
to be
all
that.
about.
Yep, exactly.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and I don't know, following up with that is just like the commitment to it. We already hinted at that, but I remember when we first launched, even I think Delight took a little bit longer to like grow on socials, and maybe it was just really organic at first and less like strategic. But then when we launched our other organization, For the Girl, that was like a quick launch, just like let's go after this. And I remember we got like probably like I don't know 20,000 followers in the first like few months, and it was just through commitment, like just like through literally being like setting our mind to it, like okay, we're gonna like really commit this, we want to see this grow, we want to see this reach people.
Right.
We knew who we were after. I mean, we've already talked about that, like you have to know who you're after. I mean, with For the Girl, we were like we want to reach people who like don't really read their Bible or who like don't know the Lord. Okay, what people are doing, we want to do what Alex Earl, that girl we mentioned earlier, is doing, because then we will reach them and just like copy what they do. There's people out there that are doing it really well already. So like copy. I mean, Max said, we're not going to like copy exactly what Elevation is doing, but know your brand, know who you're after. And if somebody is doing it well in that space, do a variation of that. They know what they're doing. There's so much access to like, I know nothing about marketing, but I've learned a lot through through actually even like my husband, he's a marketer and he watches YouTube videos all the time at home, and I'll just sit down on the couch and like watch with him. I learned so much. I don't even know who these people are. I wish I could give them shout outs, but there's so much access to like some knowledge out there too. So like I feel like you can access that.
And Kenz will try anything. That's one thing she pushes me in is she's like, I'm like, that won't work. And she's like, well, let's just try it.
Let's do it.
So then we try it and some things are flops and we're like, okay, we're never doing that again. And some things like oddly work for us. And we're like, okay, great.
Okay, yeah.
So I think there has to be this, like, you can't be afraid to fail or to flop in what you try and what you do. It's again, paying attention to what works, what resonates with people, and then do a ton of that and more of that. And
I think the last thing I'll add to, Frank, is just that like I will say, especially Delay, outside of socials, outside of our email platform and all these things, we've actually probably put equal, if not more, effort into the organic marketing too. Like, we to this day are like, guys, never miss it. Like, you can, like we said, DM people on Instagram.
Right.
It's still kind of on that level of like social media, but gosh, we do so much like face-to-face personal outreach and are really strategic about that. Like, we just recently did, I guess this is also on the socials, but yeah, I don't know. We just recently did a campaign to like, what, Mac? Were you going to say something?
Oh no, I was like, we reached out to every single one of our Delight leaders and said, hey, if you give us a contact of a girl at another school who could potentially start a Delight chapter, we'll send you a free coffee today.
Right.
And we got 300 new contacts that now we're then putting into our marketing funnels to try to like work and see what we can get there.
Right.
And I just think that like, again, to me, that's being invitational. That's like saying, okay, we're going to leave the comfort of our home to like invite you into this. And then we're going to pursue those people. We talk about pursue a lot in Delight, but we're going to pursue those people, not just put out this blank statement and see if anybody shows up, but we're going to be the ones to pursue and say, hey, we care whether you show up to this or not. And I think people read into that too. So when you're thinking about marketing for a church, it's not just putting out this like wide, this wide come one, come all, but saying, hey, no, we want you here. And we care about whether you come or not. And we're going to keep inviting you, even if you turn us down 12 times. We're going to keep inviting you.
Right.
Just sometimes people rely too much on like a post to pop off when you need to like actually do some personal outreach there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, you guys have a purpose. Like, you want Delight on more campuses.
Yep.
And so you want to reach more women who could be great leaders on campuses. And so you're like, it's like in the marketing world, right? Like, it's lead gen. You did a great campaign to go get more leads of women who could be great leaders on campuses, right? But it's all with a purpose. Like, it's marketing, and it is like lead gen to drum up more, potential people that could do it. But it's like, it's all done with like a big purpose behind it, right? And like that's where you want churches and ministries and everybody to not think about marketing as like it's this weird kind of icky thing. It's like, no, we're trying to like make an impact in the world, and what we're doing is reaching more people and getting more, ministry happening on campuses and reaching more women. Like, that's all good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you want churches to think that way. Like, how do I use social? How do I use content? How do I do the more personal outreach? That's, I mean, that's even like invite a friend, like get your, that kind of stuff where you're like, hey, invite a friend, get them on the email list, and then the church will do some email marketing. Like, there's just all kinds of ways to do it. So I love what you guys have put together, and just how you're doing it and how you're purposeful behind it and fun, and the brand is awesome. And I also love when you're just like, watch what other people are doing. Like, there's people out there doing great stuff, and it may not be aligned right in terms of like what the impact we're trying to make and how we're trying to influence people for for Jesus, but you can learn from what they're doing and why it's reaching people, and then figure out how do you take that and apply it into the faith context. So
absolutely.
Exactly. Our entire email list at For the Girl came from a quiz we did about your dating life. So, what's your dating personality? That talk about lead gen. So there's just so many creative ways that you could do it to reach more people. It's kind of fun.
I mean, if we're going to have to wrap this, because
we
probably all have things to go do right now, but we could have a third episode on lead gen, and
lead gen. Yes.
We're passionate about that.
Yeah. You guys rock. Thanks for coming on again.
Yes.
Where should folks go to check out Delight and For the Girl?
So you can go to at Delight Ministries on Instagram, or at For the Girl _ on Instagram. And then, on our websites, either one.
Love it. Love it. Well, you guys rock. Thanks for coming on again. And thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time on another episode of Modern Church Leader. See ya.